Some breaking news here from the Washington Post. Democratic Senators Whitehouse and Wyden are now seeking a criminal investigation of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas over gifts that he received that included travel, a loan for a recreational vehicle, and other benefits from wealthy benefactors, which of course include instances of jet travel, yacht trips, home renovations, tuition, luxury sports tickets, lodging, among other gifts not disclosed on his financial forms. According to the two senators, they sent a letter to Attorney General Merrick Garland that requested that he appoint a special counsel to determine whether Thomas violated ethics and false statement and tax laws. Whitehouse and Wyden released a statement saying, quote, "We do not make this request lightly. The evidence assembled thus far plainly suggests that Justice Thomas has committed numerous willful violations of federal ethics and false statement laws and raises significant questions about whether he and his wealthy benefactors have complied with their federal tax obligations." Whitehouse and Wyden went on to explain the failure to disclose the gifts and payments may have violated a federal law requiring government officials to disclose gifts, loans, and other benefits. They also want to know if Thomas's benefactors paid gift taxes and whether Leonard Leo's payment to Ginny Thomas was part of a coordinated gift program or required any additional disclosures by the justice. First of all, good. As you might know, I've been directing viewers of my videos to call the Senate Judiciary Committee headed up by Dick Durbin. And you did. In fact, you all called so much that Durbin's mailbox filled up and was no longer accepting new messages. So if you called, thank you. And if you didn't call, maybe because you didn't think that it would have any impact, which to be clear is perfectly reasonable, this was a successful test case for the fact that it does. It does matter. You've heard the expression pressure burst pipes, and that pressure is needed now more than ever. Now, that brings us to the Merrick Garland of it all. Will Merrick Garland do anything about this in response to Senator Whitehouse and Wyden? Who knows? I have made my qualms with him abundantly clear. In Merrick Garland, we have someone who seems so focused on avoiding the optics of seeming political that he actually confers a benefit to the other side by virtue of just how careful he's trying to be. Need proof? Garland appointed Jack Smith as special counsel to investigate Donald Trump in November of 2022. For those keeping track at home, that is nearly 2 years after the events of January 6th. What was the DOJ doing before Smith was appointed? No idea, but I can tell you that zero action was taken against Donald Trump. And so if you're wondering why it is now nearly 4 years after Trump incited an insurrection at the US Capitol and still nothing has happened, that's because we lost all that valuable time when the DOJ could have been prosecuting this overt criminal, instead not prosecuting him. And the ultimate irony, for all of Merrick Garland's judiciousness and tiptoeing so as not to seem political, has that stopped Trump and Republicans for even a second from accusing the Biden DOJ of being weaponized against them? Not at all. Meaning it was literally for nothing. Merrick Garland is still getting hit with the exact attacks that he tried to avoid, with the only difference now being that because he thought that he would get some non-existent goodwill from Republicans, he effectively allowed Donald Trump to go free and ensure that this trial wouldn't take place before the 2024 election. There is a price to weakness, and we're paying it right now. Which is why I come on here every day and beat this drum over and over that Democrats have to learn to fight. It is not enough to protect our institutions and our norms. And furthermore, that's not what we're there to do. When it was time to eliminate the filibuster, for example, as a way to protect democracy, Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema opted to defend not democracy, but the filibuster, our norms, even though doing so lent itself to the weakening of democracy. That is not what our elected officials are there to do. They don't take oaths to defend our norms, and certainly not norms that aren't even named in the Constitution like the filibuster. They are there to protect democracy. So my message to Democrats is to recognize the fight that we're in, recognize the threats to democracy that we face, and meet the moment. I can promise you that the Germans who sat idly by and watched the Nazis rise to power in the 1930s could have done more. We don't want to be looking back 10 years from now and feel the same way that those Germans felt in 1943. And I use the German example on purpose. I am not mincing words here. I asked Norm Eisen, who's Obama's ethics czar, about this exact issue in our most recent interview, and here's what he had to say. How do you reconcile when you have a Democratic Party that wants to protect the institutions that Republicans are trying to tear down, but at the same time, in doing so, doesn't seem to be up for the fight that Republicans are bringing them? So, we are just kind of blindly relying on the courts, even as the courts are showing that they're fully aligned with Donald Trump and his agenda and willing to do their bidding. And it kind of feels like, far from even bringing a knife to a gunfight, we're showing up with a spoon. We're showing up empty-handed. So I guess what's your message to those in charge who continue to defer to the institutions, but not seek to think critically about the fact that if we just carry on in this path, we're going to lose?
I think this wake-up call of this Supreme Court decision, the whole term, the powers, they're arrogating to themselves. Those words you read, when it said law, they said, well, but they've added a new clause to the Constitution. But
Basically.
the law is what I, conflicted, corrupt, complicit Clarence Thomas and Sam Alito, say it is. Why are they even sitting on this case? It's crazy. It's against federal law. There's a federal law that says judges are not permitted to have those conflicts. So yes, it is time for us. It's a wake-up call. Look, the conservative movement was pronounced down and out 1964 when LBJ trounced Goldwater. They didn't quit. They said, we are going to build. They invented institutions. They empowered the Chamber of Commerce. They built the Federalist Society. So we are going to have to take an example from that struggle. I hope it won't be that long. I think it can be done shorter. We've got to make sure that 2024 is a referendum on these issues, that everybody knows what they're voting on. But we got to keep an eye on the contest in 26, the contest in 28. The good news is, yes, there are examples when you get an autocrat, if Trump should be successful, where they defeat all opportunities to oust them. But history, contemporary political science offer us plenty of examples where if you keep your eye on the prize, you focus on that horizon, we all wage this peaceful political battle together, then what you get is like the Polish example. Autocrats took over Poland. They were ousted a few years later at the ballot box. We don't want the Hungarian example, where all efforts to get rid of the autocrat there, Viktor Orban, have failed.
All of which underscores my point. This is the moment to act, to wield what power we have, and to make sure we are doing everything we can to defend democracy and to undermine those who seek to tear it down. Clarence Thomas is doing the latter, and if the Democrats are not using every single lever at their disposal to hold him to account, then they are not doing their jobs. I've got a really exciting announcement. I've written a book. It's called Shameless. This book explores how Republicans have exploited their historical branding while attacking our democracy, how the media has proven itself a willful participant, and how Democrats can learn from this to rebalance the political scales and save our democracy. It has been a lifelong dream of mine to write my own book, and so I'd like to ask you to pre-order it by clicking the link right here on the screen. And if you buy within this pre-order period, your book is going to come with a signed nameplate. As you know, I've never had a single sponsor on my channel. I don't ask for money or anything like that, but if you're looking for a way to support me, this is hands down the best way to do it. So again, follow the link right here on the screen, and thank you from the bottom of my heart for pre-ordering Shameless. And as always, make sure to subscribe to see more of my content.